So welcome friends, live with 40 people from all around the world, Costa Rica, the USA, and if you're on the recording, you're very, very welcome. My name is George, and together we are exploring life, exploring ideas and practices that can help us live in balance, live well, and also how that relates to our collective systems and ways of living in balance as well. And I'm currently in my front garden and people and cars walking about, so if I get distracted sometimes, that's what's going to be happening. And yeah, today's idea, I want to explore with you ideas that I recently learned from a retreat that I went on with one of the great teachers of Tai Chi called Zhongliang Aohuang. You might have known him from his great books, The Watercourse Way, with Alan Watts. He co-wrote it, and Embrace Tiger, Return to Mountain. He is very joyful and very inspiring for my Tai Chi teaching and how I share Tai Chi in my life. And I want to share some ideas with you. What's your thoughts on positive affirmations and mantras? I want to share with you my journey from going from someone who was really skeptical with the idea that I believe I'm good enough, I believe I'm beautiful, I believe I'm great. These kind of positive affirmations. I always was very skeptical against them, and now I've gone full Monty different to someone who really, for my own life, has felt the power of repeating mantras on a daily basis in order to transform my energy and how I relate to myself. I want to share a little bit about that journey and something that I've learned recently from a new teacher that has deepened my ability to use these positive affirmations in a way that really begins to help me in new dimensions that I hadn't found before. So yeah, I was skeptical about positive affirmations. I think maybe it was a British thing. Like the British are often, stiff upper lip, get on with it, stop trying to be good and just get on with it, stop complaining. And the idea that we needed to G ourselves up and honouring all of the American watchers, is quite an American thing. At least us Brits project it onto you Americans, like, you can do anything, believe in yourself. And yeah, so my kind of British instincts had some skepticism against that. But as I've got deeper into my journey of exploring meditation and life and reading self-development and spirituality, I have found mantras and positive affirmations help me more and more. Because why is that? Like, why could they help? You'll know that we are creatures of habit. Like, all of our behaviors come from neural pathways that have been reinforced over time. So yeah, our certain ways of being and thinking, they come from our history, our genetics, the things that we do in our lives. So let's take, for example, confidence. It's quite an interesting habit that we either embody or don't embody. Like if somebody speaks in a low voice and has dramatic pauses, we may think they're confident. Whereas if I have my body language down like this and I'm kind of looking around, that maybe you don't think I'm as confident. These are behaviors, right? These are habits that can come over time. And yeah, for my journey, like if you look at my older videos, I have these nervous twitches in me that I began to recognize, okay, I've got all this nervousness, and can I watch that and just try and be present with it and just relax? And so over time, I am relaxed now, and it's a great privilege to be with you. So that's a habit that's transformed for me over time, where I've felt more grounded and confident speaking with you. And yet really what confidence looks like is just a series of behavioral habits that are practicable. So then let's go to joy and happiness, which we think of things that happen spontaneously. Like, you can't force happiness, you can't force joy. Viktor Frankl's got a great quote on this. He says that happiness is like a butterfly alighting on you. If you try and catch a butterfly, it's always going to fly away. But if you just rest, the butterfly may land on you and it may rest. And so that's like happiness. We chase happiness. So long as we're looking for happiness, we define ourselves as people that aren't happy. So we can only really be happy when we let go of that intention relax into just who we are right now, and then maybe that butterfly of happiness will land on us. And there's wisdom in that, to just let go of trying to be someone else and trying to be happy, and just to accept where we are, and then find through that acceptance a softness, a kindness, and a happiness and a joy can alight on us. Yet, nonetheless, there is an art to joy. There is an art to happiness. And these happy states and joyful states do come from certain ways of thinking and certain ways of being. So if we're always stuck in our heads thinking about what's wrong with us and like how we're messed up in various ways, life's not going to be that fun, right? And that is often a habit that we train. You know, like for me, I would be perpetually focused on myself of, you know, like, am I good enough? I need to improve myself. And yeah, right now I feel like I'm not enough. And, you know, one day I'll be enough. Me. My focus is on myself. And so all of this self-consciousness created tension and made me unhappy. Then I found meditation, and I found that I could begin to train my mind to be able to not think as much. Like if all of this tension comes from self-consciousness and thinking, if I just literally don't think as much, then suddenly I feel more joyful, more happy, just by virtue of not being stuck in that thinking. So we've been on this journey so far of like how actually happiness can be a habit where we train ourselves to think in certain ways, or to let go of that mode of thinking and just stay present. But then we can also do even more than that. We can affirm the positive, and that then helps us realize that happiness is available. So for example, the mantra, despite everything, just here is just all right. Despite everything, just here is just all right. So, you know, if I'm stuck in thinking that isn't serving me, I notice that, I repeat that mantra, despite everything, just here is just all right. And I'm reminded that, okay, all of this chasing of me needing to be something that I'm not is an endless battle that I can never win. And actually, despite everything, just here is all right. It is all right. And that reminds me that, okay, yeah, maybe just here is all right. If you've explored any Buddhism, you'll know about metta meditations, which are loving kindness meditations, where you'll repeat, you know, like, may I be filled with loving kindness, may my friends be filled with loving kindness, may I be at peace, may I be happy, may they be happy, may they be at peace. And it can feel forced at first. You're like, do I deserve this happiness? Do I deserve this peace? This just feels totally fake. But then you may find, and I have found, that over time, because you're exercising this muscle, this neural pathway, this habit of kindness and compassion and acceptance, is that then when we get stuck in judgment and self-criticism, the kindness is more and more available to us. So I found mantras to be super transformational, and I want to share some new insights with mantras that have helped me, that has taken my mantra understanding to a whole new level, and that is embodying it. So I'm going to stand up for you. And yeah, so one of my mantras is move the body, move the mind. Is that often, you know, I started my journey disembodied. I, was anxious in my head, thinking through how I had to sort everything out in my life through, working out, being a better person, think. Then I found Tai Chi, and I realized that, hey, I can just relax and just move my body. And then suddenly through moving, I'm feeling all right. I'm feeling good. So you'll know this, you have a shower, you clean your room, you go for a walk, you go for a run, and you move your body, then you come back, and all the thinking should be the same, and yet it feels completely different. That you haven't changed anything about your circumstances and the things you're stressed about, and yet the feeling is better, right? So the body is an important part of moving our emotions. Now let's combine. Wow, this is the magic that I've learned from a great teacher called Zhongliang Aohuang, who's one of the great Tai Chi teachers that I had the privilege of learning with recently. Let's combine these ideas of mantras which prime our thinking to help us reach more joyful and peaceful states more easily through repeating this habitual way of thinking and being, and moving the body, bringing them together. So if you've done any sessions with me, you might have done the 5 moving forces with me, which is Zhongliang's form, and we embody the 5 elements of nature. So that was fire, water, wood, metal, and the earth. So we embody these elements of nature, and we can do the physical moves, but don't just do the form. This is what I've been learning, is that these movements, they have metaphors in them that can help us reach different ways of thinking and being and feeling. So fire isn't just fire, it's I'm fired up, I'm big. And water is I'm cleansing, I'm clearing out all the BS that isn't serving me. So if you do want to stand up and join me, you're very welcome to. I'm fired up and I'm cleansed. So if I'm actually really present in this move, and this is an amazing flow to do first thing in the morning, is that make yourself big. Often we're down here and I'm not good enough, and our body language embodies that. If we can, I'm fired up, and even if we don't feel fired up, you're making yourself big, and you move the body, move the mind. So you're inviting something with this idea of I'm fired up, I'm big, and physically making yourself big. Suddenly you've got this dual beautiful element of the mind and body working together to transform your headspace, to transform how you feel. And then the water, this is cleansing. So like first thing in the morning, what do I need to let go of? What can this, imagining water moving through you and cleansing it all out, cleansing what needs to get out. So that's a beautiful flow. Literally, this will take you 10 seconds. Fire and water, first thing in the morning. I do it every morning now. But the key bit is to be present in it. I'm fired up. What's the big thing that you want to be doing today? Maybe you're nervous about a job interview, a date, a conversation. Okay, you're strong. You are strong because you are human, and humans are amazingly capable. So embody that. And then the water. What hasn't been serving you? First thing in the morning, cleansing it out, letting it go. So yeah, that's a beautiful flow there, right? Where there's this mind-body relationship where suddenly we've taken mantras to the next level, where it's no longer just I'm going to think in a certain way, but instead we physically make ourselves represent that thing that we want to be, so big or cleansed. And so then the mind and the body can be working at the same time to transform your energy and to transform your feelings. So I hope that is valuable for you, and if I can ask one action for you to do tomorrow morning is to do the fire and water, and give me a comment with how it felt. And yeah, I'd love to know if that can serve you. So Ariel sharing, I think it's important to address the shadow aspect, the negative belief, and then replace that belief with something that feels more aligned. So yeah, awareness is the start of the journey. Okay, what are these limiting beliefs that I have? And that takes investigation. And so this is a synthesis between, the East does it as well, but kind of classically the West is psychotherapy, and the East is meditation. Psychotherapy is investigate. Meditation is observe. It's all just energy arising in your consciousness. You don't need to work it all out. Just let it happen, let it flow. Both complement each other really well. Like we all have habitual patterns of thinking and being that come from our upbringing and from our culture. And to investigate, recognizing these limiting beliefs and negative beliefs can then help you relate to these beliefs more kindly. So a great example actually comes from a friend that I was just talking to yesterday, and his grandfather was in the military in England, and his grandfather was serving it was like his great grandfather was serving in the army in like 1905 in the colonies in England, in the globe run by England. And you can imagine just how strict you have to be. And in some ways, your heart needs to be really closed, because, the kind of colonial exploitation, to be part of that system, you need to close yourself off to a lot of things. And so then my friend noticed in him this kind of tendency to, yes sir, like do things properly. And he's very strict with himself. And he only found this insight recently, is that, wow, okay, this is generational trauma that I've inherited. Like, my grandfather was in the military and was, inherited a lot of this strictness that then was passed to his mum and then passed to my friend. And so if you can become aware with that, then suddenly when you are harsh to yourself and you have this taskmaster, this drill sergeant, if you can think about, okay, what is my society and what are the messages I'm told about what a good human looks like and feels like, and what did my parents do, suddenly you can relate to that with more kindness. And then, what do you want to affirm? Is that something I love, a growing mantra for me is I seek high standards without harshness. High standards without harshness. So to live with integrity in keeping with our values is challenging. To live a ecologically sustainable lifestyle, or for me, veganism is kind of where my moral compass is at, that the other animals on this planet with us, they are sentient beings with families, and they have feelings, and they feel joy, and they feel suffering. And so I don't want to be eating calories that I don't need, that are part of this exploitative system that cause suffering for many animals. And that's for me. But then, if I'm feeling emotionally vulnerable, I have maybe a piece of cheesecake. And so to live with integrity, to live in your values, whatever your values are, takes courage, and high standards is something that we can aspire to. And the drill sergeant will think, in order to get high standards, you need harshness. You need to be really strict and really disciplined with yourself in order to get there. I would argue that harshness is precisely part of the problem that prevents us from living peacefully and harmoniously, because this fighting of ourselves and beating ourselves up creates an energy, which then means that we don't accept parts of ourselves, and then they get repressed, and we begin to internalize and embody that tension, which then manifests in our lives through sickness, physical illness, and then also how we relate to our loved ones. And then that relates to our societies and our propensity towards violence against other people, and to those other people in other countries. We shut down our compassion. If we're not compassionate with ourselves, then it's much easier to shut down our compassion to the other. And so I believe this harshness is at the root of a lot of our collective problems. So high standards without harshness. And that's a mantra that has continued to serve me. Thank you, Ariel. Isco sharing, isn't happiness just focusing on beautiful things, to see a flower in a wasteland? Yeah, where your focus goes, your energy flows. The focus is so important. We can take so much for granted, where there can be so many beautiful aspects to our lives, but we miss them. We don't smell the roses because we're always busy. And even if we become successful and we become a billionaire with a really nice house and a beautiful partner, we're still miserable because Jeff down the road's got an even bigger house, and his wife recently got Botox on her lips, and so she's got bigger lips than my wife's lips. And the journey never ends. So there is no way to happiness. There isn't a specific set of things we need to do to become happiness. Instead, happiness is the way. Happiness is the way. We choose to focus on what we are grateful for. And as I said earlier, that we are habitual beings. And so we can train ourselves to, not just in a fake way, find happiness and contentment from simplicity, but in a real, like embodied, joyful way. Like there is a real joy to find happiness in simplicity. And we do that through training ourselves to find gratitude for the gift of life, this great embodiment that we are in and are part of, and to find gratitude in the everyday. To not try and find miracles, but to find the miraculous in the everyday. And if you think about the great sages, the great wise teachers, Lao Tzu from Taoism rode off on a buffalo when he got sick of all the city living, and then probably hung out in a cave and just was by himself, and we guess felt very rich. And the Buddha hanging out under a Bodhi tree, not eating any food for 40 days and yet getting enlightened. And yeah, the spiritual path is one that invites simplicity and to understand the power of our focus. Where our focus goes, our energy flows and our feelings transform. And so now that we know that, can we become aware of where our focus is going? Like, we can't control what thoughts come into our heads. That's just what being human is about, is to have anxious thoughts that maybe we wouldn't want, feelings that we wouldn't really want. But we do have responsibility, the ability to choose our response, the ability to choose where our focus goes, and the extent to which we create stories about these supposedly negative experiences. Can we instead watch them, honor them, say, okay, I notice you anxious thinking, but I'm just going to keep going. I'm going to breathe, focus on my breath, or I'm going to make myself big. Do you want to try that with me? Do you want to try a wow? This is another fun one from Zhong Liang. So let's try that together. Give me a wow. One more. Yeah, let's and yes, you can be faking it. That's the trick. Because you're very welcome to laugh at me, and you're welcome to laugh at yourself as we be silly. So let's try one more. Wow. Yeah. So that's some of the magic of embodied mantras, where we invite a wow. And even if I catch myself when I'm in moody George mode, and I catch it, wow, and I just remind myself, okay, there are other options here, where my focus goes, my energy flows. So we'll do one more question. So what does the Tao say about politics and creating of effective change in the world, from Prince of B? So yeah, what's the Taoist view on social change? And yeah, my understanding of Taoism is that the aim of Taoist practice is harmony, or the Chinese character is he. And where I studied in China, the Wudang Mountains, another name it has is Tai Shan, which means Supreme Harmony Mountain. What an epic name. And so, what's the Tao? So the Tao of Taoism, it refers to the ways of nature, the universe, everything within it, and also the principles that shape the universe. And when we understand the principles that shape the universe, we can work in harmony with them. We can integrate all the different aspects to what it means to be human. Ways of thinking, our feelings, what our body needs, our relationships, our society's relationship with nature. When all of these are in harmony, that's flourishing, right? That's joy, that's effortlessness, and that's a beautiful world. So the aspiration of Taoism is to help us understand the Tao in order to achieve harmony. And one of the key insights that we get from understanding the ways of nature is that everything in the universe is connected. We are one is a cliche, but it's based in scientific reality, that our idea or feeling of separation is neurons firing in the brain, giving thoughts of I'm a George and I end here, I'm a bag of skin. And yet with every breath that I take in, I am breathing in the oxygen given to me from the plants, and every breath I give out carbon dioxide, which they then use. The sun is powering me. I have literally billions of microbacteria in my stomach that digest my food for me. You know, are they me? They're their own little organisms that were within me. You're like, where do I begin and end? And so everything in the universe is related. When we understand that the Tao is relationship, full stop, the Tao is relationship, then we begin to transform how we look at the world and our societies and countries and politics and economics. And so, yeah, how does the Taoist approach harmony in terms of economics and politics? And we know that some of the big challenges of our times is climate breakdown. We're currently making the planet hot, and it's going to massively transform the planet in a way that's going to dislocate hundreds of millions of people, and we're already on this path that it's going to get pretty bad, and we're on that quite scary path. And then there's other challenges of war and nuclear weapons and dictators having, at the push of the button, the ability to destroy all the civilization. You know, we've got some big challenges. So how do we navigate them, both as individuals, and what would the Taoists invite us to do, or how we could navigate looking at harmony with that? And I would say that, coming back to this, grounding ourselves in our relationship, the fact that we are relationship. Even these countries and supposed enemies, they come from the Tao as well. We all come from the same mysterious source. We are connected to them. And unless we have genocidal aspirations in order to destroy and kill all the people that disagree with us, we need to find a way to cohabit. We need to find a way to work together and to live together. And so that means that how they think and what they believe is part of our harmony and the way that we can live. So maybe it's a bit maybe it's a bit naive. I'm trying to look for the right word, but for me, grounding ourselves in our common humanity, our common spirituality, if that's a word that works for you, our common interdependence, and to therefore ground our action in love. That, if we are connected. And what is love? For me, love is connection. We feel connection with our family and friends, and we feel like that heart singing and resonance with them. And if we can see that even Putin is part of the Tao, is part of nature expressing itself, and he was traumatized as a child, which meant that this innocent baby that was once gurgling for his mum has turned into someone who would invade another country, causing hundreds of thousands of deaths. So if we can extend love and compassion to all beings, while also holding our boundaries and not just being pushovers and defending ourselves when we need to in order to protect ourselves, I believe that our global transformation depends upon understanding our common relationship, basing ourselves in love and compassion, and to then understand that we don't need to be the same in order to cohabit and to work together. But working together in cooperation is possible because we come from nature, and there's so much diversity and there's so much abundance. All these different species working together, they don't have to be the same. We don't have to be thinking and being the same in order to share this planet safely. And so that's the aspiration, is to share these ideas in a way that is an offering without forcing people to think and act like us, but to say, hey, like, I know you think differently to me, but there's a lot that we have in common. And finally, is our own journey is so important as well. Like, if we are miserable and low energy and despondent and despairing about what's happening in the world, then that creates a ripple through this interconnected system. We are relationship. So that means that we then are contributing to a lack of harmony. So our own practice, our own meditation practice, our own movement practices, our own joyful practices, as we've been exploring today, as we raise our energy and find more peace and more grounding, we inspire the people around us, and we then begin to cause a ripple effect in the positive, that they then are inspired that peace can be possible for them as well. And if they are up for it, we offer without any expectation the practices that have been helping us, and we support each other on this journey as a collective consciousness, waking up to our connection. And we live in challenging times, but also really inspiring times, where wherever we are in the world, we can find some of the deepest wisdom about our relationship to the planet and the universe, and practices that can help us live well and live in peace. There is a raising of our consciousness, while also an increasing of our challenges as we've become more powerful as a species. And so I do believe that all of this challenge is part of the journey of humanity waking up. And if we can stay in a place of hope and a place of acceptance of okay, I can't control the world, but I can choose how to respond to it. I'm going to choose joy. I'm going to choose cooperation. I'm going to choose compassion, because I trust that these are valuable in themselves. Even if disaster happens, we are still contributing to the raising of joy and compassion and consciousness in the world. And disaster isn't just like a utopia or disaster. It's not a binary yes or no. It's a gradation. And so we don't know how our own practice will affect the whole. But that's great, because then we don't need to shut ourselves down. We don't need to say, well, it's not going to make a difference, because actually we don't know what difference it's going to make. And joy and resilience and peace and compassion are valuable in themselves. And so yeah, this is what gets me fired up, and I hope that the ideas that I share with you can be valuable on your journey. I'm still learning, I'm still a student of life, and we are part of a movement of people raising our awareness. And so you do matter, and if you do feel called to, as you understand yourself, how can you dedicate more of your energy to the movement? Joining activist groups, volunteering. Can your work be of service to life, the flourishing of life? And as a consequence, feel a joy to be in service, because we are in connection. When we serve our connection, we do feel a joy and a satisfaction from that. So sending so many good vibes to you.